Skip it up and that up. I'm glad to hear that Treyarch doesn't feel that the single-player campaign aspect of video games is a dead concept. As a matter of fact, not only does Treyarch like single-player campaigns, but they still think that single-player campaigns are integral to video games. Now, Black Ops 3 producer Jason Blundell was being interviewed by GameSpot, and he talked about a couple things. The first thing he talked about was why the campaign mode was being dropped for the 360 and PS3 versions of Black Ops 3, and this is what he had to say about that. When I found out that an old-gen version was going to be made outside of Treyarch and found out the things that would have to be cut out in order for it to work, I was fully behind Activision's decision to remove it. Now, Jason goes on to talk about how there is still a demand for a story-based single-player campaign in video games. This is what he had to say about that. This was an active topic at Treyarch until our numbers showed us that, regardless of what you read on forums, players spend a good amount of time in all modes. I'll say this, and this is my personal view. The death of storytelling and the death of campaign is the death of society. As a medium, we have to tell stories. For Black Ops, it's absolutely essential to continue the art of storytelling. So let's talk about these two topics that Jason brought up, and let's talk about the previous gen version of Black Ops 3. And I'll be blunt and to the point. Why the fuck does it even exist? Even if it's just multiplayer only, I'm still blown away that we are getting AAA games for the 7th gen consoles when we're almost 2 years into the 8th gen. Yes, it's happened before somewhat where you'd get very watered down games for maybe like the first year, like when the PlayStation 3 out, you get like watered down games for the PS2 and the original Xbox when the 360 came out. But never this long. You would not get AAA games like Metal Gear Solid, The Phantom Pain, Rise of the Tomb Raider's coming out for 360. I'm kind of glad, okay, they're still coming out with a version of Black Ops 3 for the 360 and PS3, which I think is fucking stupid and pointless, and they're not going to probably make that much money from it at all, even with their large install base, because people know they're old, dated, crusty consoles. But I think that they should just stop making games. Oh, let them go. Let them go. We're almost 2 years into the 8th gen. It's time, man. Please let this be the last Call of Duty for the 360 and PS3. I think it's gonna be. I do, but I really hope that it is, and I hope they don't keep trying to milk the 7th gen gravy train, because it has no more gravy left. Everyone sucked all the gravy out. Now, in regards to what Jason Blundell said about single-player campaigns, I agree with him. I still enjoy single-player campaigns. I enjoy playing them. If you don't feel like being competitive and having a 12-year-old tell you that he fucked your mom last night, it's nice to have the single-player to go to. I really think it is. Now, maybe that's because I'm an old dude and the new generation of gamers probably don't give a crap about single player. I know there's a lot of young guys that do. But I do. I think it's important. I think it's what kind of makes the whole package of the game. I like multiplayer too, don't get me wrong. I'm going to enjoy the shit out of Star Wars Battlefront. But it's nice to have that single player campaign to go to when you don't feel like being competitive, when you want to get some background on the game to see what inspired the developer, and when you just want to have fun without being stressed out. And I think everyone could kind of agree with me. When you play online, even if you are the nicest Call of Duty player or Battlefield player or whatever the hell else you play, playing online can get fucking stressful. Especially when you deal with a bunch of trolling asshats when you play Call of Duty. And I think we all have had that time where we dealt with trolling dickheads on Call of Duty. So I hope that single player never goes away. I hope that games don't just completely give up on single player. And I'm glad to see a Call of Duty developer saying it, because you would think, and I would think, that Call of Duty would have been the first to jump on the multiplayer-only bandwagon. But I'm glad to see that Treyarch thinks single player is important, because I agree with him. I think it is too. Now it's time for you guys to tell me what you think on both of the topics that were brought up in this video. Are you buying the previous generation version of Call of Duty? Let me know in the comments below. I may not always respond, but I do look at them. And do you agree with Jason? Do you think that the single player campaign is still very important? I do, but I'm looking to see what you guys have to say. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one.